You're listening to Excess Gaming Podcast, a podcast for gamers by gamers, with your hosts Xander Scullion and James Gruesome, bringing you something old, something new, and a little bit of nostalgia too. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whichever time you guys are listening, and welcome to another episode of Excess Gaming Podcast. This is episode 83. I'm one of your hosts, Xander Scullion, and joined with me is Mr. James Gruesome. What's up, man?
Ahoy, everybody. I don't know why I said that. I've just been saying ahoy like at work when I talk to people in the morning. It's just something different. It's bright outside like normal, but it's a different time. Kind of feels like back in the past because we used to record more in the evenings on weeknights and such, and we kind of switched to Sunday morning, but we're doing a little unusual time slot for us, but everything is still great and awesome, and I hope everybody listening is great and awesome as well.
Indeed. And yeah, I mean, we usually record our episodes, Sunday mornings, but I was kind of busy. I kind of had some other things I was doing last weekend, which I will get into with games we've been playing recently, because it is gaming related and it was really cool. But yeah, I mean, we usually open up the episode with gaming news, but a whole lot of news hasn't really been happening. Nothing too crazy. Now, there is one cool thing that happened this week actually, and that is the Punch-Out Easter egg. Now, I thought this was really cool because, Punch-Out has been out, for 30 years, and here is an Easter egg we found, years later, and apparently, they've been hinting that maybe there could be possibly other Easter eggs in older Nintendo games, and if you guys haven't followed this news article, apparently, there's a bald and bearded man in the front row, the crowd to the left, and if you're in the second fight with either Piston Honda or Bald Bull, he'll duck at the exact moment you need to punch, and you only have to watch him and once you watch him, it guarantees a victory. Believe it or not, no one caught the secret in 29 years since the unboxing of Punch-Out on the NES. Now, what did you think about that?
That's kind of cool. A bald, bearded guy. It sounds like a lot of people I know, actually. But that's cool. You'd sent me the link on that, and I didn't read it at first, as I figured it would come up, and sometimes I just like to be surprised. And I guess that's just like another hint. And who is this for? When you're fighting, you said Piston Honda or Bald Bull?
Yeah.
They give off a lot of hints. Everybody really does. But the fact that there's another one that maybe you could just not even look at the boxer, that's so much of it is seeing what they do and their actions. And it was one of those great things I always liked, because you could do it. You still had to have skill. Even with those hints, because if you missed it, they're still going to beat the crap out of you, right? That's like the super moves when they go in. Bald Bull was one that would I easily beat the crap out of him, but he was still one of the tough guys for earlier in the game. I think that's great. There's probably still really so many glitches with, how many games, whether it's a glitch or that would be an Easter egg in a sense, or just a hint. I'm sure there's many everywhere, because people are still, whether they find new methods to do speed runs in certain games, there's little things that just constantly people threw in, and I think we're going to keep finding them. I think it's great, especially on just an era like that. It's so classic for us that we grew up with. It's just really cool. I'm actually going to try that later on or tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, it's funny you mention that, because I've been really wanting to play some Punch-Out after reading it. I have been so busy the last 2 days trying to just get some backup content so I can kind of take a break this weekend on YouTubing and everything, and I've been wanting to play, but I haven't had a chance to. But yeah, after hearing that, I was like, man, I want to play Punch-Out, because that really is probably one of my favorite NES games of all time. It's got so much charm to it, man.
I was just thinking that. Punch-Out it's one that I own. Then the cart, I think I have it on my Wii Virtual Console. I bought it on the Game Boy, or the 3DS, the Game Boy, the 3DS. I got it on the eShop on there. It's just one of those games, I like having so many options to play it. It really has to be on my list too, one of my top games. And while I enjoy all the other ones in the series, I just still I don't have that affection for those. like I do for Punch Out. And it's still a game I've never, beaten just straight up legit. Like I still have not. I've not beaten Tyson one day, but it's one that's just, like the hints the boxers give, still having the skill, the reflex. It is just such a great game. And the people, that can not take hits from Tyson. And, people could do some really amazing things at that game. And it just goes to show that that is one of those ones that can stand the test of time. And Mike Tyson cannot beat Mike Tyson on Punch Out.
Now, did you care for Super Punch Out? Because here's the thing, okay? I like Super Punch Out. I don't think it's a bad game, but I don't feel as connected with Super Punch Out as I did Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
No, I'm the same way with you. And there's some people I think that like, Super Punch Out better. They kind of hold it maybe in the same regard. And, it's people around my same, age group, that grew up with the original, but it's something about that original one. I don't know if I played it more, what exactly, it is like, and I wonder too, if it hadn't have had Mike Tyson's name, what if it had been somebody else? Mike Tyson was like the hottest thing in boxing since, just like Muhammad Ali,
Yeah.
just amazing and such a pop culture thing in a sense of how he kind of had his downfall. A lot of people can think, he's a bad guy. I don't really believe everything I read about him. And I think he's a guy who in a lot of senses, did some dumb things, wasted a lot of money.
Yeah, we're all human. We all do.
But he's found redemption. I think he's a guy that's come back as a funny guy. People we remember him. He's become a pop culture icon. And I wonder if, another boxer, or what if it had just been Punch Out? It would have been a great game, but I wonder, would it have been, as hot a game as it is? But going back to what you said with Super Punch Out, no, I don't have that affinity for that game. While I think it's great, some people might think maybe technically it's better. It's just nothing can beat, whether you're playing Punch Out now or Mike Tyson's Punch Out, which I prefer the Mike Tyson's just because. And he's one who I said I think would be great if he had a comeback and they had another Mike Tyson's Punch Out game. I think would be the greatest thing in the world. I've been wanting this for a while.
Give us a Mike Tyson amiibo, damn it. That'd be so awesome. Man.
He would love that too. It just seems like a guy who would just get a kick out of that. But no, Mike Tyson's Punch Out has got to be one of the greatest games. I would just have to take it if I got stuck on a desert island and had that option to, why the desert island games, like if you get stuck on a desert island, you're probably not going to have any games except ones that are on your cell phone, and you're not going to want to use that because you're going to kill the battery. But it's still just, wow. It's one of the greatest games of all time.
Well, that was actually a good segue, James, because I'm actually going to talk about Miitomo. Speaking of cell phones, that was a good little ease in there.
Without even trying.
Well, Miitomo just launched, I believe, last week, and it is huge. Now, this is the first mobile app put out by Nintendo, and it was on all smart devices, phones and tablets. But, man, okay, it's already got 4 million active users. The average person spends about 8 minutes per day on it. And its daily revenue is around $40,000. This thing is so big, and I've been playing it. It's been a lot of fun. It's a good time waster. Now, I did make a video about my review of it and first impressions, and what I mean by a time waster is it's one of those games. It really has that social media kind of feel to it, where your friends are like other me's, and they answer questions, and you answer questions, and you can find out each other's answers, and it gets really interesting. I've been having a lot of fun with it. The only thing that I will say about Miitomo that I really hope they work on is it's got one mini game, and the mini game's called Me Drop, and you pretty much drop your me, and it goes down like this, almost like pachinko machine, like hitting bumpers and stuff like that, almost like a pinball machine. And it lands on like a certain item, and you can get prizes and stuff like that. That's the only mini game it has. I really hope they come out with more mini games for it. And also, it is a huge battery sucker. You can put a power save mode on it where it kind of saves some of your battery life, but before I did that, man, I remember when I first downloaded it, my phone was like on 40%. And after spending like 15 minutes on it, it was down to like 28%. I mean, it sucked it dry. And with that being said, if you're not on Wi-Fi, I'm pretty sure it sucks a lot of data too. So just keep that in mind, guys, when you're using Miitomo. Be sure you're on Wi-Fi and try to use that power save because it really does help.
I've heard too. I was listening to, I believe it was Nintendo Voice Chat, and they just talked about that with the battery life and how part of it might have to do with when you're accepting friends, depending on how you have it hooked up and how many people can, send you requests that your little, I don't know if it's your me or if there's an icon that dances around a lot anytime a request is sent. And, that could be part of it. It seems like anything with motion, video. Yeah. I mean, I can tell you when I had internet blockage for a few days, I used up, I'm usually close to my data usage on my phone right by the time, the cycle ends. So I'm good. I used up 75% of my data, like at least 15 days before I normally would. So,
yeah,
like you said, it's something to be careful on depending on what you're using and data usage, what type of plan you have, because, it's not cheap.
But, I will say this is really good news for Nintendo. I mean, this is bringing in a lot of new revenue for them. And also, like I was mentioning in that video, this would be great for Nintendo's advertisement. Because, for anybody who's downloaded, games on your phone, we always get those little advertisements. And this would be a great way for Nintendo to kind of maybe show off advertisements for new games coming out. Because, I mean, if you really think about it, people are on their phones all the time. People are probably on their phones more than they watch television. So, this will keep you up to date when, like, a new Star Fox game is coming out or, new Mario game or something about the NX. This could help spread the word of the NX and help market it when it starts hitting. Something that the Wii U was really lacking when it first launched. So, this could be really, really cool. And the summertime, we're supposed to be having Pokemon Go. That's going to be coming out. And I'm looking forward to that. Catching Pokemon in real life is going to be kind of fun.
Like I said, people are on their phones a lot. They do it while they're crossing crosswalks or intersections. I almost ran over somebody doing that one day. People, pay attention. Don't be so tuned out from the world that you're not paying attention, because being in an automobile, I feel, especially at my job, it's part of my job to be aware of my surroundings, but it's part of your job as a human to look where the hell you're walking. So, the Pokemon, I think, with the way this one's going with the downloads, just as hot as Pokemon is, that's one I could really see blowing up. And I mean, I've heard, the Miitomo described as a bit more like a social network. Which I thought was a interesting description. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, it kind of made me understand a bit more, because I haven't downloaded or tried it. I could only see the Pokemon just doing insane numbers. I'm all about Nintendo making money, and it doesn't seem like they're shilling out, complete just crap. Like you best describe it as a really cool time waster. Why not?
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got a couple minutes, you want to flip around with something. That's just as good as anything else. And it'd be interesting to see if they, maybe add more mini games, or maybe add in, I don't know how it works, how if they can, like you said, whether it's advertisements, maybe a slight demo, maybe, throw in a stage from an old classic game once in a while. You could be like, hey, available on Virtual Console for whatever many points. Just little things like that. I'm all up for, like I said, Nintendo, making money and staying alive. I root for them and want them to stick around, because it's just one of those companies from our childhoods. It's one of those things we're so just nostalgic about, that it's actually still around. It's still putting out consoles, and it's still thriving. Some would say it's not at times, but it's still there, and it's just good to see them still going ahead.
Yeah, when you mentioned time wasters, I mean that's the best way to describe how the Game Boy was birthed. Because Gunpei, when he was on the subway, he saw someone playing a game on their calculator, and he was like, "Ooh, this would be a great idea for like video games," and that's how the Game Boy started. So this could be something with the whole Miitomo. I mean, this could be huge. So yeah, definitely, it's going to be a lot of fun. And moving a little bit from Nintendo and into some PS4 news. Man, there's going to be a lot of new PS4 games coming out. We're looking at, Ratchet and Clank just came out, the new Ratchet and Clank game that's based off of the movie that's coming out. I've been hearing great things about it. It's great to see Ratchet and Clank back. Also, Uncharted 4, A Thief's End is finally going to be coming out May 10th. We also have the new Hitman game. Here's one that I'm really happy with. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutants in Manhattan comes out in June. I cannot wait for that, man. It's going to be, that game's going to have online co-op.
Oh, really? That one I'm probably going to have to, I noticed this one is still coming out on the PS3 as well.
Yeah.
So for the time being, I will be getting that one. It's nice to see a Turtles game coming out that, it's a company. I think their past games have been, really good. The Platinum, it's a company I trust. Seems like everything looks really cool. It's, everything you could hope for in a newer Turtles game is still that kind of older feel to it. I think it's great. I thought the Transformers game they did was really cool. While it was also kind of really hard to me, still great. And I'm glad to see that they got a hold of the Turtles and that it's right around the corner. I've been watching some of the trailers and videos and stuff, and it just looks really cool.
Yeah, and of course, Xbox One is really pushing the cross-play with the Xbox One and PC, and they're really trying to seal the deal with PS4, with third-party developers, being able to make games that are cross-platform. And I'll say, first of all, I think this is a great idea. I mean, I'm all for exclusives. I think exclusives really help decide on which console to get. But, say for example, James, you went and got yourself an Xbox One. I don't have an Xbox One, but the new TMNT game came out. This would give us a chance for us to play together. I think that's actually kind of cool. I really hope this goes through. That'd be great.
Yeah, they all deserve a clap. It's like we can say, lots of times there's negativity, whether you got fanboys of certain systems, and sometimes that's okay. I think they're all great, but this is like some kind of Twilight Zone happy place. It's wow. That's all I can really say. It's something I never even thought of. We've probably all mentioned wouldn't that be cool? But
Yeah.
For it to actually happen, it's just kind of, man, it's nice. It just kind of gives you a fuzzy feeling inside to see people on different platforms being all able to play together. Like you said, those games that come out on multiple consoles. Why not? Yeah, the exclusives. Hey, I'm all for that. We grew up with that. It gives you incentive to buy the other system. If those people can get certain games on their side, that's just how it is. I like that at the end. And it lets you pick sometimes which series has priority over other that would make you jump, to the one console. I still like that competition, If there was nothing else, we see how that goes with wrestling nowadays, where it's like WWE's like the biggest show there is, and it's not, it's kind of like, you can see it's been a bit of a decline.
Yeah.
There's still lots of things. I still love it, but there's lots of smaller organizations. Lucha Underground, anybody that likes wrestling should definitely check that out. It's like a comic book and wrestling come to life. You really got to suspend your disbelief. But, wow, I mean, people time travel, they kill people. It's awesome.
Holy crap.
Yeah, it's really
I'm gonna
great.
have to watch that.
It's so cool, man. The backstage segments remind me of like a soap opera. They actually have the guy who is the boss. He actually is just an actor, and you got to think of it as a TV series and not a wrestling show. Because if you go in there as just a wrestling purist, Jim Cornette, one of the greatest managers in wrestling history, a great mind and historian, he absolutely hates it. He's
Yeah.
very old school. I understand why he hates it, but I've been watching wrestling for over 30 years. I know a lot of people my age. We grew up with a lot of old school stuff, old NWA, WCW, and we love Lucha Underground, but you got to think of it. It is a TV series, not a federation. They do some live stuff, but it's a lot of stuff is the tapings, but it's really cool. Yeah, I definitely recommend that. I've been
Oh
trying to
man.
pass that around to anybody that will listen that still, watches wrestling. But competition, back to it, like I said, just is great, whether it's wrestling or gaming. And, the fact that we still have, whether it's, the PC, the Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, that, competition breeds greatness and greater things. So things will just get stagnant if there's only one company left. So the more the merrier.
Yeah, definitely. And the last two news articles I'm going to be talking about, this is still on Xbox. Quantum Break concludes the failed TV show / game crossover experiment. Quantum Break it came out last week, and it was an Xbox One exclusive. It was also released on the PC as well. But it had a lot of high promises, and I've talked to some people. Our friend Josh, Games of War, he loved it. And I've talked to some people who haven't liked it. I haven't personally played it, so I can't give a personal opinion about it. But it seems to be a really interesting game. It's made by the same people that made Alan Wake, which kind of intrigued me a little bit. But yeah, it kind of sucks that it's not going to be a TV show or game with the video game crossover. But I mean, who knows? Quantum Break might be one of those games that becomes a cult classic later on.
Yeah, well, I know Josh. If I remember, I believe it was him that had spoke like really, really highly of it. And you get where some people and some friends, and you really trust their opinion. I know it's a game I would have picked up if I had an Xbox One. I definitely would have snagged it just because of the credentials with the people with Alan Wake. At one point, it seems like I did hear that it was like you always had to be online with it. Like I said, I haven't played it either, and I'm not sure if that's something that stuck. That's a little bit of a turn off, but at the same time too, it's one I still would have picked up. If I had the system to play it on, and at some point I still hope to play it. Because if there's any problems with anything, they can always patch stuff in maybe and fix it later on. But I think it could still be a really cool and interesting game in the long run.
Yeah, and Josh, Games of War, he's somebody that I really take his criticisms and his reviews very seriously. Him and I have a very similar taste in games, so he's like, oh man, this game's amazing. I know 9 times out of 10 I'm going to think it's amazing too. So, also, the last thing I want to talk about was Hyperkin. Now, this might have been an April Fool's joke, because I'm not going to lie, I didn't go back and try to research to see if this is legit. I don't think a whole lot's been really coming out after it, but
that I'm just saying that would be horrible. I have no thoughts of an April Fool's joke in my head at all, because they would just be assholes if they did that.
Because it did come out on April 1st when they announced this, and yeah, if this was an April Fool's joke, shame on Hyperkin. You guys are dicks. Because what they were talking about was releasing a handheld that's a clone console of the Turbo Express. Now, the Turbo Express was pretty much a handheld TurboGrafx 16 that played Hue cards, had a TV tuner and all that stuff. Well, Hyperkin was going to make a clone console based off the Turbo Express, but the thing was it was actually going to be a lot slimmer. It was also going to have Hue cards that you can put into it for the TurboGrafx, but it was also going to be region free, so you could play TurboGrafx 16 or PC Engine, and also I believe that's it. I don't believe it was also no, it wasn't Super Graphics or anything, but you could also hook it up to your television. So it was essentially a clone console that you could also take on the go.
And it would have a built-in type of TV tuner, like the Game Gear.
which when I heard the TV tuner, that's what made me kind of be like, oh, I don't know if this is an April Fool's joke or not, because I mean that's really weird. But maybe it was like a little niche thing that they would like throw in there as kind of like a haha, yeah, remember the good old days,
Yeah, well, I figure with things like the little digital antennas you can get to pick up a lot of a few free channels. There's probably something like that they could put in there, is what I assume. Just nothing major, just a couple
Yeah.
channels maybe you could watch, and that would be cool. I mean, that's one of the things, we haven't seen the TurboGrafx get a whole lot of love, and I believe it was the Game Freak, which is one of the clone consoles that plays a myriad of consoles, and it can play the Hue cards on there as well, but that's the only one, and it's a foreign exclusive as of now, and I've heard it has some heating problems possibly.
Yeah.
So it's one you always got to be leery of, when you get one from another country. But to get one like this, Turbo Expresses are really expensive now. It's one of those items that's kind of odd when I look back, because I played one when I was younger, because my friend down the street, he had a TurboGrafx, and a little bit later had the Turbo Express. And it was really cool, but it was like, it's like you had Game Boy and you had a whole different set of games. They might have been based on the series that you played on the NES, but they were still different. They were their own. They were unique. The Turbo Express it played TurboGrafx games. So it's like, well, you can play them in your car. Sometimes it's just fun to sit in a corner and play a handheld. Most of the time you could just play them on your TV if you had a TurboGrafx. It was kind of an odd system, because it didn't have any exclusives. But to have one now, that's a little bit different, because like I said, Turbo Express is very expensive. They end up getting a lot of dead pixels. So you never know for sure if you're going to get one that's, full on great quality. But if we could get one of a clone system from Hyperkin, and, if it's somewhere, I think in the, I'd say up to maybe $100 price range, give or take a few. I think the Superboy that they put out was around the $75 to $80 mark. This could be a little different. I picture at least 100, and up to that amount, I know I would definitely get one. I have a TurboGrafx, but to be able to play the foreign games, and just in case the system that I own ever kicks the bucket, it'd just be nice to have a backup. And just the fact that it's handheld, I really like those a lot too. So really the perfect thing, you could just open up a lot of people that maybe haven't experienced the TurboGrafx before a chance to check it out, and, expect prices to go flying up on a bunch of games. So you better go buy them now.
Yeah, because, TurboGrafx is already getting kind of insane to collect for. If this is true, between the clone console, the rising popularity of the TurboGrafx, and I hate to say it, but Kanye West naming his next album TurboGrafx 16, love or hate the guy, he's giving it promotion, and people are going to start looking at it, and, TurboGrafx is going to get kind of pricey even more. So, yeah, I hope this is true, because this would be great. And even if it was $120, a lot of places that sell used TurboGrafx 16s are around that price. And if I can get a clone console that's region free, because the Japanese games are a lot cheaper, so if I could get a region free TurboGrafx that's also portable, that plays in HD and full, 1080 on an HD television, that's going to be awesome. I cannot wait. So please, Hyperkin, if this was an April Fool's joke, please let us know.
Yeah, TurboGrafx is just a great console. Apparently, pretty soon, my brother is switching his TurboGrafx just over to all Japanese games. So I'm going to be inheriting some newer TurboGrafx 16 games over the course of the year. So that's always great. What a great system. Looking at games now, I look at a lot more Japanese games because of him and mentioning to them, and so many wrestling games on that system that just seem really cool. The ability, like I said, man, that region free, I think that would be a really great. I think it's one that the people that know would pick one up. So it's it might be a little slower offhand, but I think it's one that would pick up, or either it would sneak up and just, it's one you would have to pre-order, because a lot of people would be on it. I think a lot of people are excited. It's just the option of that, really cool. Something, with those Hue cards. I think it'd be kind of neat if somehow, it's probably impossible, if they had it built in where you could play the Sega Hue cards on there too.
Oh, that'd be cool.
I know there's no way that could possibly happen, but just if so, if they're all little cards, I figure they're just not too different, right?
Exactly. Well, what we're going to do, guys, we're going to take a little break. We're going to do our annual content shout-outs. That's shout-outs made by you guys, and I highly suggest you guys check these out after these messages. And also, a quick shout-out to Warp Zone Video Games and Beyond in Ohio. It's an awesome video game store. My friend Darren, he's the owner, and he partaked in a little holiday I made up today, and the day's April 13th. The day is National Chocolate Cake and Sega Genesis Day. I made this an official holiday. And Warp Zone also made it an official holiday because when you went to their store today, you had Chocolate Cake and Sega Genesis games to play on their nice little monitors. So, so if you guys are listening and you have some chocolate cake, laying around, be sure to eat some and play some Sega Genesis. But as always, guys, we'll be right back after these messages.
Hey, how's it going everyone? I'm Tazen and welcome to my spot. So my channel is based around all my interests in games, anime, manga, figures and all related merchandise. Very much a communal channel, so it's all about sharing my memories and collections and sort of the things I love with games, especially like RPGs and stuff. And also bring other people together to sort of share theirs and, really create a community from this channel. So yeah, if you ever feel like it, please come and check my spot out. It's your spot as well. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for liking and subscribing. And until next video, stay spot on. Or as Xander James says, happy gaming.
Greetings and salutations to you one and all. It is me, the Ravenous Spectre. That is the name of my YouTube channel, on YouTube of course. I wanted to actually get my name out there. I talk about video games, I talk about pro wrestling, I talk about heavy metal, and I have a few little rants sprinkled in here and there. I really want to get out there. I want to discuss things with the public, some likes and dislikes that we have with gaming, pro wrestling, and heavy metal, so definitely check me out. That's Ravenous Spectre, all together as one word.
And we are back, guys, and that was our content creator shout out. What I think makes this really interesting is it's not just us shouting our listeners out who take part into listening to podcasts every other week, but a lot of our listeners are also creators themselves, and this is a great way for them to kind of show off what they're doing, and hopefully you guys can check out their content as well. And this week we featured Tazen Spot. He's a really cool guy. I really like his YouTube channel. He's overall a ball of positivity, and that's what I really like about his channel. And Ravenous Spectre, a really good friend of mine. I talk to him a lot on Facebook through different comments and stuff like that. He seems like a really good guy. He's another fellow North Carolinian. And, he does everything from, talking about wrestling to heavy metal to, oh Lord, there's a cat. And, video games. So definitely check these, two channels out. I'll have a link on the description of this episode to their channel, so check them out on YouTube. And if you have a podcast or YouTube channel you'd like to share, be sure to email us at accessgamingpodcast@gmail.com and just leave a little audio message. It could either be on your phone or it could be a video. I can just extract the audio. Doesn't matter. Just be sure to send that to us, and we will feature it on the show. Now, today's topic is going to be about video game magazines. Something that I'm surprised, here we are 83 episodes and we haven't really talked about video game magazines before, which is kind of weird because this is how you and I grew up learning about video games.
Definitely was an integral part of growing up, is how you learned. We grew up in those days before this thing called internet. There was no such thing. You maybe had a computer that you could type on. I had a bunch of bootleg Atari games, which was, in a sense, my first system was on a computer. Other than that, I don't even know if we had a printer. I don't know. I played games on it. I had load up a DOS disk. They were all on floppies. All this technology that is just like nowhere. Floppy disks. Does anybody even use those anymore?
No, I think they still use them in like TV shows when an evil arch nemesis has secret data to take over the world. He still pulls out a floppy disk.
And that's it. That's what I would use. But yeah, that was back in the times, and you learned about that through the video game magazines, whether you were lucky enough to actually get a subscription to one, or whether you just had a bookstore that was cool and allowed you to peruse through the pages. I know a couple stores around my town had those signs that said, "Do not read unless you buy." And then other stores were a little bit more open. I just tried to be a little bit more concealed about it. I just didn't flop down on the floor and bust out the magazine. I just kind of carried one in my hand and looked while I was looking at other things as well.
Yeah, that it's funny you bring that up because that's what I used to always do when I was a kid. Because sometimes I didn't always get to buy the magazines, but I'd go to grocery shopping with my mom or something like that. Especially we go to like Walmart or something. I'd always have like 3 sections that I would go to, and surprisingly, these are 3 sections I'm always going to, and that is video game section, like electronic section, book section, and toy section. That's where you would find me, and I would always go to the book section, and yeah, I would plop down. I would plop down and pull out a magazine and start reading it, and before I get more into the story, James, I want to ask you: did you have a particular like favorite magazine that you like to read?
I mean, really, as a kid, it had to have been Nintendo Power. It started off with the initial couple Fun Club issues because I remember either I might have had maybe one of the later couple ones, or my friend down the street, because I remember the same one with the TurboGrafx. He'd gotten a Nintendo maybe 6 months to a year before I did. We both had divorced or separated parents. Only his dad was a doctor, so he got a little bit better guilt presence than I did.
Oh, yeah.
Still all good. I still got the Nintendo eventually. But, he had it, and it was still almost just like having one because we played together like every day. So I really got to play it, as almost as much as I wanted to. And, we had some of the Nintendo Fun Club issues. I still had one. I think I ended up giving to my brother it was actually a while ago, maybe a decade ago. I still had one. I think that maybe had like a Mario on the cover. But Nintendo Power really had to be it, because that was what we had. It was always cool to see or hear. You maybe had a friend that had a Genesis, but I didn't have any Sega products. It was really all Nintendo. So I didn't mind a Nintendo-focused magazine, because that's where really my mind was focused. Nintendo almost became a synonym for video games. It was just, you want to come play Nintendo. That's how it was. So Nintendo Power and the Fun Club had to be, my initial favorite video game magazine.
Yeah, I think mine would be, I love Nintendo Power. I liked Electronic Gaming Monthly. I was a big fan of Game Fan and Game Pro. But one magazine that really sticks in my mind is Tips and Tricks. And the reason why I say that is because this goes back to my story of when I used to just plop down and read a magazine in Walmart. Right beside my Walmart used to be a video rental store. So there'd be times that I would go to the rental store and I would rent a video game. And what I would do is, after I would rent the video game, I would go to Walmart and I'd go to book section, go to Tips and Tricks, and try to see if I could find cheats for the game I just rented. And this is where I was sneaky, and this is kind of unethical. I would have like a piece of paper and a pen in my pocket, and I would actually copy down the cheats from the magazine, because I wouldn't be able to buy the magazine. I'd be like, man, I want to take some of these cheats home. But at least I wasn't like this one guy. And I remember I told you this in a text message, James. Okay, I went to Walmart one time, and I went to the magazine section, and I plopped down my usual spot, and I was reading my magazines, and there was another kid there. We didn't even speak to each other. We're just there reading our magazines, and I'm sitting there just reading, and I start hearing something out of the corner of my ear, and I look, and the kid is ripping pages out of the magazine, like straight up ripping them out. And, it's one of those things like, I saw it, and I was just kind of like, oh, that's really messed up. But I didn't want to like talk about him or say anything. I just kept reading my magazine and was like, just act like I didn't see it. Well, apparently someone did see it. One of the Walmart employers saw him ripping the magazine out. So the guy comes out of nowhere. Like, I saw the guy coming, but he comes over there and he's like, hey, what are you doing, kid? And the kid's like, whoa, and like drops the magazine, and the guy's like, oh, you're gonna pay for that? You're ripping up my magazines? The kid's like, shrugging his shoulders like all kids do when they're in trouble. And, the guy's like, grilling him, talking like he's gonna find his mom and blah, blah, blah. And the kid starts, getting so upset he actually pees his pants. Like he's straight up like, just, you see a wet spot just expanding
See, that is brutal. And that's how you could tell. It's like we were decent kids, because you're kind of like the same way as me. If I saw somebody, ripping out pages, I might would kind of cringe a little bit, but I'm just going to do what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I'm still not good at snitch, but it's like, that's not quite right. But I mean, I could say it's like, well, when I was 4 and dressed up as a ghost, I pissed myself trick-or-treating. And one time I laughed so hard, I pissed myself. And I've had friends that said, they've just been so drunk and passed out and pissed themselves. Certain things like that are okay, but I can say I've never as a kid or any time had someone come up and scare me like that to where I pissed myself. So at least he got a little bit of just dessert on that one.
Well, it was such an awkward moment, like, the guy never said anything about me reading the magazines, he was like, and you, but it was like that moment I saw like all happening, I like slowly closed the magazine, put it behind me, and just got up real slowly and walked away, I was just like, I don't want to be a part of this,
It's best to leave the area,
Oh, yeah.
A Kmart near me, and I was influenced by a friend of mine who probably did some more unethical things, like stealing at times. And I remember leaving Kmart on one occasion, maybe having a couple of items on me. And my friend decided to walk along the front of the store, whereas me, I was more of a back aisle kind of guy and then go out the front. And he got caught. And, the guy just took the items from him and told him to, never come back. And I saw this happen, and I took everything that I had, which that day I think was a pack of batteries, a LCD game, a cassette tape, and maybe something else. And I could say I put it all back, and I did not take anything again. So I'm glad it was my friend getting caught. He didn't piss himself. We were a little bit older at the time, maybe 13, 14. But that definitely did deter me from stealing anything from the future then on. It was not the right thing to do, and I'm glad I stopped such actions.
Yeah, so that definitely made an impact on me, and that was like a random memory when I was coming up with the subject of this episode. I'm like, oh yeah, BB Pants, I remember him. And one thing I liked about Tips and Tricks was not only did you get cheats and all that stuff for video games coming out, but at the very back it would have like a little a pixel puzzle where it would be like graph paper, and it would be like color in A1, color in A2, and you color in these pictures with like a pencil, and it would make this like pixel video game character, like it'd be like Mega Man or Mario, stuff like that. And then also, at the end of the year, they'd come out with a Ultimate Edition Tips and Tricks magazine. It was like a lot thicker, and it would have like a collection of all the cheats and all the codes they had over the year in that one issue. And what I really liked about it is not only did it cover, all the cheats and stuff like that, but you would go to the console and it would have like a brief little history about the console, and it would tell you like when it came out, they would show you some of the old ads and stuff like that. And I remember I used to get those like every Easter for the longest time when I was a kid. Like that was my Easter present. Because those magazines, the Ultimate Editions, they were a lot more expensive. They were like $13 instead of like $4. So I would get those, and man, that was great. I love Tips and Tricks magazines so much. And of course, you have PlayStation magazine that always came with a demo disc. Those were awesome, dude. I love those demo discs.
Those are ones, yeah. You can go from PlayStation even up to, they had the official Xbox magazine as well.
Yeah.
Demo discs were just, really cool. Now we get free demos. Back then, I still like the idea. I would still pop one in now, honestly, if they still had demo discs. So I don't have to bother downloading a demo that takes up just as much damn space as like the whole game. I'd gladly take a little disc again, really. If I got a magazine and a disc for the same price, I would totally use it. I think
so too.
A lot of people in our age group definitely would. Those ones, it was just, it was great because it gave you some reviews, it gave you some up and coming games, and it gave you something to try out as well. So you could actually kind of give it your own review, test trial in a sense. A demo disc, man, that's something that really just kind of faded out. That with that Xbox, PlayStation up through like PS2 was like the last era of that.
Yeah, and what was really cool about the demo discs is they became so popular that PlayStation actually came up with PlayStation Underground magazine. And this was not a magazine in the sense of a book. It actually came in a 2-disc set. You'd have one disc that would have, a short little FMV video of like, maybe developer interviews, maybe previews and stuff like that. And then you had the other disc that would have demos, but it would also have import demos as well. So you could try a game before it even comes out of the States. And I know with the PS2 era Underground magazines, they actually had memory card downloads. So you could actually put your memory card in, and you could download, like, say, Gran Turismo. And you would get, like, special cars or special tracks downloaded to your memory card. That, I wish I know now we can just download all that on the networks, but that was really cool.
Yeah, that was. You'd probably get all those like, man, why even bother? You just get it right away on the thing. And it's like, you're going to get older games, the demos, the stuff that are out. And it's like, sometimes, yeah, but it's like, you still got to try it out. And it was just that fact of having that, it's like, you always got that one. So some people, played their demo disc like a game. Maybe you didn't have enough money to afford the actual one. So, maybe you had Tony Hawk on there that just had like one level. And you know what you did? You played the shit out of that thing.
Oh, dude, like
actually get the game.
Yeah, Tony Hawk, when the Tony Hawk 2 demo came out, it featured one stage, and it featured the skate park editor. But it was like not the full editor, like there was a lot of stuff they didn't put into it, but it was still fun. And I remember me and my friends spent the whole summer until the game came out. We were playing that demo, and we would make all these different skate parks. And of course you couldn't save them, so it'd be like you just play them, and then once your PlayStation turned off, it was gone. But yeah, we got our money's worth out of that demo, and a lot of demos were like that. I remember, especially with, Final Fantasy VIII, when Final Fantasy VIII first came out, I played that demo so many times just because I was anticipating that game so much. And yeah, did you have like a favorite, maybe like a favorite magazine, like not in the sense of like, brand wise, but is there like a gaming magazine that maybe kind of stuck out in your mind that you remember fondly?
Well, I mean, like I said, with the, Nintendo Power going on, and I'd say now one, and I used to steadily get their issues. It's still one of my favorite magazines. I hadn't got one in a while just because I was really just trying to watch some of my spending a lot more, because I would go to Barnes & Noble, I think it was like the 4th or 5th of every month, and I would get Retro Gamer magazine. I've talked about it probably numerous times. It's a UK magazine, which is where I learned about a lot of, the Spectrum and a lot of other the systems like that, with a lot of games that I'd never, maybe just kind of heard of but never really seen. I got to see a lot more pictures, and it's still just a beautiful magazine.
They're thick too.
It does, it's bigger than normal. It's good page content. The price actually had dropped. At one time I was paying almost about $15, and the last time I'd picked some up was around, I think they were around $10. And to me, like I said, they're very collectible. I've kept every single issue I've gotten. I try not to think about the time period when I stopped, because it'd probably kind of break my heart a little. I just don't like, it's all those ones I didn't get. But I'm gonna go back to the bookstore and pick up another one sometime soon. But it's there's a couple other magazines with retro in the title. This one's Retro Gamer. It's a UK magazine. They have a rainbow on their logo, and it's a beautiful magazine. Like I said, they're very collectible. They're big. Lots of full articles on things like SNK. You might get the history of SNK in one. You might get the history of SNK just fighters only in another. So many from UK series that you didn't really know about, and now you're learning and want to play, to the classic series that we all grew up with. They really cover everything. And I mean, like I said, it does have a little focus on some of those Sinclairs, Spectrums, those ones, but I like learning about systems that I didn't grow up with,
Me too. Me too. And it seems like, one big YouTube shout out is, Larry Bundy Jr., the game guru. He covers a lot of gaming on the European side. And one thing I've noticed about the Europeans is, they played a lot more like family computers than we did. Like the Spectrum and stuff like that. So I like to kind of watch videos, and I like to read magazines about that stuff, because even though it's old consoles, it feels new to me because I didn't know about them at the time. I was busy playing like Nintendo and Sega Genesis. I didn't know about, the Amiga and stuff. And some of that stuff's really, really interesting.
Yeah, the color scheme to me on a lot of the Spectrum games, just really, black backgrounds, lots of red, yellows, whites, these bright, some of that color scheme just really fascinated me. And they actually have a handheld Spectrum that's, they had a Kickstarter, was fully funded, was endorsed by the guy that kind of, helped build or created the Spectrum originally. The Kickstarter went way overboard, what they were asking. It comes built with I think it's 1,000 games.
Oh, yeah.
And there's even way more than that you can get and add on. And it's one that, I could probably go and get the ROMs and stuff, but I'd really like to get that handheld they're putting out. That's another one, just because it's a handheld, would be really cool. And to have all these games just to go in fresh. 1,000 games that I've, so many I've never played before. It's just, it's really cool. There's really that many games and series that, we didn't get to see or know about as kids that were just, off in another country.
Yeah, and definitely. If you guys are more interested about the European side of gaming, again, check out Larry Bundy Jr., check out his YouTube channel and his series, Games That Yanks Can't Wank. That's what the series is called, and that's what it's all about, is games that never came over here across our pond into North America that we never had a chance to play. And it's a great channel. Larry's a really cool guy too, but yeah, I mean, I had a lot of magazines I enjoyed, but I will say one thing, since it is April and we're talking about video game magazines, I thought we'd close this segment talking about EGM's epic April Fool's issues. Now, every April, Electronic Gaming Monthly would come out with a bogus story that would turn out to be April Fool's jokes. Some of them are completely unbelievable, and some people are like, haha, we know what you're doing, EGM. But some of them were actually very convincing and caused a little bit of controversy. Now, let's see. I got some of these pulled up over here. Let's start with 1994. Okay, the cover of EGM had what claimed to be a intentional typo of Streets of Rage 3. That's triple E's. And it says, the reality of the situation, however, was that everyone on the magazine staff had forgotten that they were working on an April issue and no actual joke was created. After the issue had been produced, the staff realized an oversight, causing them to scramble to find an excuse for forgetting their tradition. Luckily, that's in quotation marks. There happened to be a typo on the issue's cover, which quickly adopted as the April Fool's joke. EGM finally admitted as the fake April Fool's joke 10 years later on page 57 on issue May 2004 issue. And at the time, no one correctly guessed that this would be a joke. However, many readers wrote in guessing incorrectly that this was a code for Mega Man X. Given an X, a Street Fighter style Hadouken was fake. That's really interesting. Now, they also had the Shay Long Easter eggs.
Man.
Yeah, Shay Long, that was an Easter egg that went all the way from the original Street Fighter 2 in 1992 and onwards to Street Fighter 3. And that was it was originally a typo from Ryu when he was like, you must, defeat Xiao Long to overcome this, or my Dragon Punch and all that jazz. But it turned out where people thought it was like an extra character, and they actually had one where they were saying that, if you did like a Hadouken and you did a Hurricane Kick and went into the Hadouken, then you'd have to battle Shay Long. And man, a lot of people.
And I think you had to get go through without getting hit. It was something extra really hard about it. I remember hearing that. Street Fighter 2 came along. I want to say someone had told me too, like on the home version, if you hit the Dragon Punch just right in the middle of the screen, you could break I think it's like a big giant bell or something. No. This is a bunch of crap, man. And that the Shenlong thing, a lot of people, got. I remember seeing the picture. I guess they modded something with the old dude with the beard, and so much so that eventually they put this. I always knew Shenlong, that was that was what it was called, wait, what the hell was that? That was one of the moves. I'd always thought, I think maybe that had been one of the moves, whether it was the, say the Hadouken, the Shoryuken, the Shin. I don't know. But yeah, they had they had a mock up of the guy with the little beard. He kind of looked like a, old master. And they ended up putting this character in the series later on.
Yeah, they ended up adding him in Street Fighter 4. Now, here's one that I remember very fondly, because this was 2005, and I was actually working at GameStop when this happened. EGM readers, or EGM told readers that starting April 1st, if they pre-ordered The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess at the time that Twilight Princess, therefore, it was getting developed and stuff like that, they would receive a copy of The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker with updated realistic graphics equal to the new game, and a screenshot was doctored up where it looked like it was Wind Waker with better graphics. So many people got pissed off at this joke. Like, this was not even a good April Fool's joke, because a lot of people started pre-ordering Twilight Princess on the GameCube, and yeah, it turned out to be completely false. And then Twilight Princess got delayed because Twilight Princess ended up being released on the GameCube and the Nintendo Wii. So, the people that reserved it and they found they weren't getting Wind Waker, some of them were pissed and they canceled it. And they were like, man, fuck this magazine. And some people, kept their reserve, like, oh, I'm going to get it anyway. And it still got delayed.
That's one of those ones that's, it's almost a bit more like mean-spirited to that one. It's not like getting people to, push their skills to the limit, in a game to try to unlock a hidden character that's just flat out, like, telling them you're going to get something extra for pre-ordering. One I can remember that got me for the longest time, WCW NWO Revenge on the 64. One of my favorite games. I found a code one time, and I'm not sure on the history of this. It wasn't really a code, but, a little cheat unlock function that if it had come from EGM, I'd assumed over the years that it had, after learning about all their infamous April Fool's issues. And this one was, when you get like your cruiserweight division, your heavyweight, your tag, everything. It's like win every belt with Billy Kidman. And then they even said win the tag belts with like 2 Billy Kidmans. That was the catch. You couldn't do a tag team with 2 of the same characters. And, they'd even mentioned, it's like you unlock the Renegade, who was like this fake Ultimate Warrior. That was the real fake Ultimate Warrior. A lot of people think there was 2 Ultimate Warriors in WWF. Not true. Only one. And he did pop up in WCW later on, but there was this guy called the Renegade, who was a total Warrior ripoff. And it was a couple of guys who were actually there around the time, so it seemed legit that maybe they were on there. Because there was also a hidden character, if you use the Game Shark, you could unlock Wrath, who was also known as Atom Bomb in the WWF. And if you use the Game Shark code, he would permanently appear on your game. He glitched on a couple of moves, but other than that, he was a full-on, like, legit character, and he just added him into your game permanently, whether you use the Game Shark or not, which I thought was really cool. But, that little hint there just got me for years. And even after I couldn't do it, I would still try to look up later on. Like, I still believe this myth that there was, like, some extra characters on that game. So disappointing.
Wow. And man, that's crazy. And there's another one right here. Let's see, I just had it in my little notes here. Of course, Sonic and Tails being a special character in Smash Brothers Melee. That was another prank they did, which ended up becoming kind of true for the sequel of Brawl. That Sonic was in Brawl, but they tried to say that he was a special character in Melee. This is after revealing the prank. EGM had a contest where those who sent in the video of their cruel Melee battles with over 20 KOs would win a copy of Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. So apparently it was like, if you defeat 20 opponents in cruel Melee mode, you would unlock Sonic and Tails. And at least EGM was like, hey, if you can actually send us footage of you guys doing this, we'll send you a free game. So at least they did that. And also, I guess for the last one I'm going to mention is in 2001, there was a small article in April magazine advertised that the Sega found a warehouse full of Sega Neptunes, that they were selling them off. Now, if you guys are unfamiliar with the Sega Neptune, it was pretty much a standalone 32X console. But apparently EGM said that Sega found a warehouse full of them, and that there was a website listed that you could order a Neptune for $50. However, after one added to their cart, you were immediately directed to another website that read April Fools and had a counter at the bottom of the screen showing how many people fell for it. That's kind of funny. That's kind of funny.
So that one just kind of makes me laugh. You know? It's like a standalone 32X. Like, who would want that anyway?
Yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, I mean, they had so many of them. But yeah, guys, if you guys are listening on YouTube, definitely leave a comment and tell us some of your favorite video game magazines. I'd love to hear from you. And what we're going to do to end this episode is we're going to go into games we've been playing recently. I'm going to pass it over to you, James. What have you been playing?
Well, I've been on a bit of a 64 kick lately. It kind of started off as I had gotten I was playing some fighting games. I really like Fighter's Destiny. I put up a picture of it on the XS Gaming page, and it was really cool to see quite a few people give it some love, because the 64 is not a system that was known for its fighting games. But a lot of people that played this one, there's something about it they definitely like. You know, it was a 3D fighter, you know, in the vein. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Virtua Fighter. It's got a little bit of that feel to it. But it's more based on a point system. You know, you can adjust the points to whether it's throws, knock them out of the arena area, a ring out, just straight out, just knockdowns. It's a little bit different, more kind of like how like a karate tournament would be. But I really like that, and I decided to get all the fighting games I could on the 64. It's like I ended up picking up Dark Rift and BioFreaks, Dual Heroes. I actually got one today called Deadly Arts. I forgot I ordered. And kind of adding on a couple of fighting ones that I had to the ones I already had. I was talking to my brother. I was like, man, I've got about like 50 64 games. And then he was like, so you're going to get like a whole set? And I was like, no. And I was like, well, I don't know. We started talking about how many there were. There's not that many. I think it's pushing around like 300 mark.
Yeah, it's not a whole lot of them.
And the more I thought about it, I was like, I don't know. I'm kind of, 50. That's a pretty big amount. And then, I got a few more. I've been buying a couple crappy sports dollar games, and I'm almost about around 70 now. So I guess I've kind of jumped up around like 20 or so in the past few weeks. It's not anything I ever really thought I would try to do, get a whole set of anything. But a lot of the 64 games, I have a lot of the more of the pricey ones for 64 are the $50 to $60 range. Like a lot of the Mario titles, Zeldas. And I actually have a lot of those already. So there's really just a lot of ones that are kind of, cheap and affordable. So I'm not putting a time limit on myself, but it's something I think I might try to do. So I've kind of really been messing around with it because I realized my whole time period that I had the 64, I pretty much really only played wrestling games. I missed out on so many great games. Like I've been playing Ocarina of Time.
Oh yeah, I remember you were telling me that. I was like, oh dude.
I started this briefly one time before. I had downloaded on the Wii. I played it a little bit, but I mean, I started playing it. It was a little bit later in the night, maybe around like 8 o'clock or so, and like I stayed up way past my bedtime. I felt like a kid, like I was really tired when I woke up to go to work, and I was like, oh god, I stayed up playing Zelda, but it was a refreshing feeling at the same time because it's something that I don't really do a whole lot. It's not a whole lot of games. It's like when I start playing, it's like, oh, I gotta stay up. I was like, nah, I'm just gonna go to bed. But this one just got me. I was like, I just gotta beat this dungeon, make it a little bit further. It was just really fun. I know I'm super late to the party on Ocarina of Time, but I just thought it was really great. A lot of people bashed the 64 graphics, and go back and play it, like it's not that bad. Some of their games are kind of cruddy looking. I'm sure the DS version or the 3DS version is much better. But still, it's still a great game. It just kind of felt, open the exploration. It was just nice to go back and play a Zelda like that. And I'm looking forward, to the new one that's coming out as well. I've been playing a lot of Virtua Pro Wrestling. It's pretty much the Japanese version of WCW NWO World Tour. Been going through trying to unlock all the characters. I was really glad I looked up how to do it. I was trying to do it on my own, but there's certain guys you unlock by, you unlock this guy by wrestling this guy with that guy. And there's a lot of history behind it with the actual matches, title changes, and the people might have been in a big feud with the person you unlock. So that's just been really fun. I have Virtua Pro Wrestling 2, which is pretty much the Japanese version of WrestleMania 2000, which a lot of people argue between that and No Mercy, which one is the greatest. And I have that coming, and that one's got a whole lot of people to unlock as well. And I really kind of miss that. That was a really fun part of those 64 wrestling games. So I've really just been messing with the 64 a lot. Picked up a couple Game Gear games. I got a little kind of like a crazy, miniature golf game. I picked up Beavis and Butthead, and I picked up a Vampire Master of Darkness. I had the download on my 3DS. It's a Sega Master System and Game Gear game. Kind of a Castlevania ripoff. Except you're going through, your boss might be like Jack the Ripper. You're going through wax museums. Very influenced, but it kind of has its own vibe to it.
Nice.
And it's really good. So it was cool to play on that. And I killed my batteries playing it. It takes like 6. I was like, wow. So I really just need to use an AC adapter on that. And picked up a couple other Game Boy games. Mortal Kombat 3. It's kind of what you'd expect. Kombat 3 on the Game Boy. Winnie the Pooh. Yeah, I will buy anything for $1 on the Game Boy. One I really liked was Hot Wheels. It was Hot Wheels Stunt Car Racer.
Oh.
It's available in the other systems like the PS2. I realize I have a copy of that. But this one, it really reminded me of just like Excite Bike. It had Excite Bike with a little bit of Motocross Maniacs. Another one of my highly favorited Game Boy games. And a little bit of, kind of like Micro Machines mixed in because you're on tables, because you're little Hot Wheels cars. Still very fun. Got little loop-de-loops, jumps. You're racing against other ones, and it's all in like a 2D plane. I almost expected it to be an overhead view. But, the little 2D, it gave it that Excite Bike feel. And just really fun. And I got a couple Simpsons games. One I'm still trying to get to work. I've just had some bad luck with Game Boy games lately. I've been buying like more and more that just can't get them to going, but I need to get some more alcohol and clean on those. But I played the Simpsons Escape from Camp Deadly, and while it's not great, I will say I think the Simpson Game Boy games maybe are a little bit better than the ones that were on the NES, because the Space Mutants was just terrible to me. And I don't know if I talked about it last time, but the last one I'll bring up, I got this really cool Alan Wake box set I found at Edward McKay in my town, and I was going to get some Game Boy games, and I had some things in mind, and I passed it up when I found this. It's just really cool. Looks like a book. I'm not sure if I mentioned this last episode or not, but, it comes with a DVD, extras, soundtrack. It was too cool to pass up. I had the game already, but I didn't have the little bonus set, and it was just, like I said, just a really awesome collectible to a great game. That another one that I'm late to the party on, but better late than never, right?
Exactly. And like I was saying before, I told you when you were talking about Ocarina of Time, playing that for the first time. I'm one of those kind of people that, when I find out someone hadn't played a game until recently, they're like, oh man, I just started playing this. Some people are like, oh my god, you're just now playing it? I'm complete opposite. I get really excited and a little bit jealous, because I'm like, man, I'm kind of jealous that you get to experience this for the first time, and you get to relish it, because sometimes I miss that, playing Ocarina of Time for the first time and being like, oh man, that was such a great game. And so I'm glad you finally got to play Ocarina of Time. And yeah, Alan Wake is amazing, and I don't blame you for buying that little collector's edition, because that collector's edition is kind of hard to come by now. So
it's one, I've never seen. I saw it and I was like, it was in the Xbox section. I was almost confused. I'm like, I was like, maybe this is like a PC version. Like, I didn't know anything about this. I honestly probably would have bought it anyway, just because it straight up looks like a book. It's got the nice little magnet cover that folds over, and it is never too late to play a great game.
Indeed, it's not. Well, my gaming habits have been kind of stagnant the last week. I've been playing, I've been playing a little bit of Pokken Fighters. I played a little bit of that, or Pokken Tournament, I should say. And I did go to Game Giant and I found Rockman World 4 on the Game Boy, which is pretty much Mega Man 4 on the Game Boy, but it's the Japanese version. I mean, I saw it, and I've seen Mega Man games on the Game Boy, and I've played a couple of them through emulation. I used to have the original Mega Man on Game Boy, and they're good games. But what made me buy it was the fact that it was Rockman World. It was a Japanese version, and I was like, oh, dude. So I had to buy it, and it's a lot of fun. It's surprising how well those games play on the original Game Boy, and how close they are to their NES big brother. And so I've been playing some of that I actually been playing it on my SP. Sometimes when I get home from work and I don't really want to, turn on my TV or anything like that, I'll just lay in the bed and just play some Game Boy. So I was playing that. Also, and the reason why we actually did the podcast a little bit later was my friend Devin came down from out of town. He moved back to Apex. He came down and we went to a friend of ours' house and we had a huge game night. It was crazy because it was one room you had everyone playing Magic the Gathering, and then the other room we were all playing video games, and we actually played Smash Brothers on a 70-inch television, and we played 8-player Smash, and it was just insane. It was so much fun, and we were all drinking. I think Devin ordered 40 wings. He got 40 wings, and we got a bunch of pizzas, and yeah, that was a really fun night. So. That was the biggest bulk of my gaming that week was that game night. It made me realize how much I miss just having those random nights of just playing video games with people. We kind of lose that sight with online gaming now.
Just that, and,
yeah.
And as you get older, sometimes like Devin, people moving, people have jobs, kids.
Yeah,
it's so much harder to where online is sometimes easier too. But I'm not a big online gamer at all, and it's just the times I remember more now are the ones the last big one was me and one of my closest friends for the past half of my life sat there and played Shovel Knight and Mario Kart. My wife not too long ago was like, I'm not really tired. She's like, you want to play a video game or something? And I'm like, what? Really? Those are the things I remember now. It's games I do play with friends in person. Playing a game with my wife. I remember every single video game I've played with my wife or ones that she actually enjoyed watching me play. Those end up being the experiences I think you remember the most, just because they are so much more tangible because the person's right there.
It's more personal. I mean, it was nice because I've played Smash Brothers online with some of my friends. And, that was fun. And, I'd log off and do whatever I was doing. But, being in that room and 8 of us all beating the snot out of each other and we can talk smack to each other sitting on the couch. And, it was just, it's something that I was like, man, I really miss this. I forgot how great this was. So, yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. I'm hoping that we all get to do that more. When Devin comes down and stuff, and they were trying to get me to learn how to play Magic, and I'm dyslexic when it comes to Magic. I have no idea what's going on, and I hopefully one day, I can be like, I know how to play Magic the Gathering, but for now, I just smile and nod. I think it's cool. I think it's really, really cool. I think Magic's awesome, but card games I've never really had the best luck with, so yeah, that was a lot of fun, But yeah, guys, this concludes another episode of Excess Gaming Podcast. And be sure, if you guys are listening to us on Podomatic.com, be sure to check us out on YouTube, my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Xander Scullion. I just recently released a review for TMNT 3, the Manhattan Project on the NES. I did a review of that. And you can also check out some of the past episodes on YouTube as well. And best of all, if you guys are listening to us, be sure to check us out on iTunes as well. And be sure to rate the show because it does help us get some more exposure and get some more listeners. And that really helps us, just keep doing what we're doing and having a great time. But as always, guys, thanks for listening. Have a great evening and happy gaming.
Have a pleasant evening, everybody.